Why couldn't I play that on a PS4? I own the game. Now, that brings up another interesting question, which is what I think their job should be then is to make enhanced content for those games and not just allow you to play that game itself. Now, if you want to just play the plain game, that's fine. Play it as it was in 1996 when you bought X. But if they make premium content for it, now you're giving me a reason to spend some money. Maybe there's an HD version, like the Halo HD. I think that's a great concept. That's something I really, really like and would love to see. So, I have so much sympathy for the position that Mr. K has about having a physical game. That's the way I feel. I think that's the way most of us feel. But I bet if you didn't grow up in an era where you had to bring home physical copies of games, I think you'd be a lot less likely to do so. In an era of casual games, downloadable games, in a world of virtual console and the like, I think those folks, as they come through and they become gamers, are going to be much, much less likely to have that same kind of compelling reason to buy these games, which brings up all kinds of archival questions and so on and so forth, and ownership and digital licenses and DRM and all that other kind of crap. This isn't about that, but I do completely understand Mr. K's point. The bow tie guy mentioned the idea of really the good old games kind of model instead of a streaming model, which I think is really the question at hand, right? And I think most of us would probably agree with that premise. You know, think about what's going. I think someone mentioned the idea of being able to download Daggerfall from Bethesda for free right now. Bethesda says, look, we're not going to make any more money off of Daggerfall. In many ways, the concept is outdated and no one's really going to want to plug this thing in. But we want to share this game that was really a great work of art and allow anybody that has nostalgia and can't find a copy or whatever the case might be to be able to go download it for free and play it. What a cool concept, right? Now, Good Old Games does that every once in a while, but what they really do is they purchase licenses for games that really aren't marketable for most people anymore. And they kind of fulfill that niche. Well, you know, I'd love to go play, and they take care of compatibility issues and so on and so forth. So if I have a PC and I want to play a game that's not even playable on PC anymore, I can go download this game that's old that they bought the licenses for and then they've made exclusively, or made it possible to play on the PC. I can download it and play it. What a great concept. Couldn't agree more with the bow tie guy in that regard on that one. And I don't know, in many ways, well, I do know, and the fact is the matter is money. But in concept, I don't know why the PS4 can't do something like this, except to say that that they really do this kind of thing through that virtual console concept, where they say, hey, remember these old games that, you know, I mean, Nintendo, right? Remember this game you used to play on your NES? Oh, now you can play it on your Wii U and just buy it again, right? The buy it again process for me is not nearly as good as, you know, them kind of adding new features to it or making it look nicer or whatever. But that being said, I do understand the good old games concept, and I do prefer that a lot to streaming. But at the end of the day, I think streaming is probably a little bit more of an inevitability. Cloud gaming, you download something, you put it onto the cloud, now it's mine, and I can stream it to whatever screen I have, even if I have the appropriate throughput in my connection, my appropriate bandwidth in my connection. No question. That, you know, that's probably going to happen no matter what. Mog says he's more interested in PS2 than PS3. I think that's probably true, and that's why I asked that question, why I wanted to get people to kind of think up a little bit more about what kind of games they'd like to play if they were going to make the compelling reason to go to a PS4. Well, I'd like to play those PS2 games. You and me both, brother. And as a matter of fact, if you can even take the PS1, that would be more compelling to me than anything. If I could play PS1 and PS2 games natively in a PS4, sign me up. I'm in. That being said, I'm not sure they can do that. I don't know how they can verify the nature of PlayStation black discs or PS2 purple discs or whatever the hell they were. I don't really even remember at this point. The point is, I don't know how you would make that verification nowadays on a PS4 simply because I'm ignorant of how they do it. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying I don't know it. I don't know anything about that. But if they could do that, that would be awesome. I'd love to be able to go to the store, pick up a PS1 disc, and play it in a PS4. That to me would be an ultimately compelling reason to buy a PS4, and something I would very strongly consider. I have a lot of PS1 games kind of hanging around, right? I'd love to be able to pop those into a PS4 whenever I felt nostalgic and just play them. Maybe I didn't get the full experience, maybe I wasn't, you know, maybe they weren't very pretty or whatever, but I could at least play them on a PlayStation system. Why can't I do that? I get that they want to cut down on piracy. But folks, the fact of the matter is, it's very simple to go get images for any of these games anywhere. So what are you really missing out on? I just don't understand that. But if they could do that, I'm with Mog. You get me a couple little PS2 action on this, I'm considering it. PS3, take it or leave it. I could care less. I'm not really interested in playing PS3 games on a PS4. If they didn't sell well on the PS4, then why the hell should they sell well on I'm sorry. If they didn't sell well on the PS3, why the hell should they sell well on PS4? And besides, if the PS4 is such a radical departure as they say that it is, although I don't really see that happening in concept, if the PS4 is such a radical departure, why in the hell is everything getting licensed at the exact same time for PS3 and PS4 at the same time? To me, that doesn't make much sense. So why don't I just own a PS3 and call it a day? What's the compelling reason to buy a PS4 at that point? I can't think of one. DTX 180 talked about, the diminishing returns of backwards compatibility. This I thought was a fantastic idea, but I'll tell you this. I have already made an argument against that here in telling you that the PS4 is more attractive to me if I could play PS1 games on it natively. So I'm kind of already breaking that. But at the same time, do I buy a... Sony started this beast when they made the PS2 backwards compatible to the PS1. They were the ones that really got this whole ball rolling for backwards compatibility, and now I think they're trying to stop that ball from rolling a little bit by charging you more for it, by charging you for it, instead of making it something that was freely available. This, to me, is a great question. Are folks really that concerned with backwards compatibility? The Wii was an incredibly well-selling system, and I don't think that it had anything to do with the fact that you could play GameCube games natively on it. I think it's because the Wii U attracted an entirely new audience. It was a completely different set of experiences that people really connected to in ways that I'm not sure they're going to connect to anytime soon again. If you are the PS4 and you're trying to give people those kinds of experiences, then what in the living hell are you doing trying to keep your ties with the PS3? And in other words, maybe backwards compatibility, native backwards compatibility, not streaming, native backwards compatibility, maybe the diminishing returns are not worth it. Sony definitely made that decision with the PS3. Now, there's some nature of like a backslap that came with PS3 because the vulnerability of that allowed people to get access to run their unsigned code on the PS3 was through the backwards compatibility and other OS capability. So they disabled it almost like as a backhand to say, fine, you want to mess with us with that, we're going to disable it for you. I'm still not sure. I'm still not sure that was going to get us very far. I'm not sure that was going to be something that really got us where we were trying to go. And so I think at the end of the day, I'm not sure that's all that important when we really come down to it. And moving on to Cobaltium's thought, which is that Cobaltium likes it when companies honor their old purchases, right? So in other words, they give you something, or maybe not necessarily they give you something, but they show some kind of respect for the fact that you spent money with them before. I think one of the reasons that Mr. K talks about, loss of respect for a lot of these companies, and I feel like there's, kind of a disconnect between what they do and what service they provide. I know that was a couple folks out there were talking about it over the course of this week. I understand why that's happening, because I think there is a disconnection in a lot of places between when a company actually acknowledges, yes, you bought something and really thank you for doing that, and we want to continue to reward you for doing so. It's not just, hey, we're going to continue to provide brand new experiences for you, which is what I think you find most video game, in terms of hardware companies saying now. Well, we're going to keep bringing out new stuff for you to buy. Well, good. I want to see that. I do want to see those things happen. But what I also want to do is I want some kind of homage, as it were, to some of the older things that I've already purchased from you guys and help make you who you are, right? So I think that goes along with the idea of when I bought my PS1 game, I'm glad that maybe you're not going to make another Medieval, right? But if you're not going to make another Medieval, then allow me to play my Medieval game on my PS4. Why is that so hard to ask? And I think at the end of the day, that's not a difficult thing to accomplish, especially moving over to a kind of unified architecture now, which we know now the PS4 will do with an x86 unified architecture. And I think that trend will only continue because it's cheap and easy to produce for. But you know, why can't those things continue to happen? I would love to see those things happen, you know, moving into the future, where we could actually be able to have a little bit of respect shown to us by these companies for the fact that we spent money on their games at some point. And I think that's a big, big deal. All right, and then Askew Taboo talked about this idea. The music industry really kind of has, well, I should say, the music industry is almost wholeheartedly now embraced what they fought continuously at the inception, which is the idea of this digital revolution. People don't generally buy CDs anymore. Now they buy MP3s, or they buy, even if that's not your format of choice, the point is they buy a digital copy of something, right? And I'm going through it right now. There's a couple albums I actually really do want to get, and I'm thinking to myself, do I go and buy the CDs and then just rip them onto my hard drive to use them as MP3s? Or do I just accept it, embrace what's going on, get a Google Music account, well, I already have a Google Music account, or an Amazon MP3 account, and just go and get the songs that way? I'm having a really hard time with it. But the reason why I'm having a really hard time with it is exactly what Askew Taboo's point is. The music industry has embraced this wholeheartedly. The video game industry and other media companies are really having a hard time making that jump. And I think it's because, just like I'm having a hard time accepting the fact that I'm not getting a physical copy of something in the mail, or, you know, or when I bring it home from the store, I think the video game industry is, and a lot of other industries, media companies, are very, very hesitant to do that as well. Books, right, TV shows, all these other kinds of things. They're hesitant to kind of not give you something that you take home with you, because that's just the way we all know. And I think, you know, what Askew Taboo's point is that we're eventually going to have to get there. These media are going to have to accept the fact that their work is only going to be digital. It's not going to be physical. And I don't think there's any way to avoid that. It's just the way of things, and I think that's going to happen. The question at that point is going to be, can they accomplish it? Can they make that happen? And can they do it in a way that is trustworthy, that is worthwhile, that makes sense from a monetary, financial perspective? And honestly, I'm not sure that's really going to happen, or that we could probably make that happen anytime soon. So it's we might be waiting a long time to see that happen. But I think Askew Taboo's point is very valid. It's coming. It's only a matter of whether we embrace it or walk away. So, all that said, and there were so many more comments out there that I could talk about this week. You guys brought up so many different, I guess, lines of thought here. I'll give you mine. First, I'll deal with streaming. I don't really care at this point about streaming games. I don't think it's really a good use of my time. You know what's really cheap right now? Storage. Storage is really cheap. Go to Amazon and try to buy a hard drive right now that is, you know, larger than you ever thought you would have even 5 years ago, and see how cheap it is compared to what you bought 5 years ago, right? It's just unbelievable how cheap storage is these days. So if storage is so cheap, my thought is, and by the way, small form factors and everything. I just bought a brand new external drive. The thing was so cheap; it was like under $100, and the thing was like freaking huge. Why is it that we can't get those kinds of things in our game systems and use them? To me, that makes a lot more sense. I'm less concerned about being able to stream something from the cloud than I am to be able to actually maybe taking that physical copy of the game home is not the way things are going to continue to be in the game industry. Okay, so all right, I'll concede that fact. The physical days are numbered, but maybe a nice happy middle between streaming and having me bring something home would be just to be able to download the game, put it on my hard drive, and run it from the hard drive. That's the comfy middle for me. The new experience, and by the way, they already do that. Almost all of the video game companies already do that. right? So why can't I just do it that way? That's a comfy medium for me. It's not streaming. It's not something that I own somewhere out in the cloud that then